Howdy guys, Bookie Laura here. I told you a while ago that I had been very kindly gifted a copy of How to Be a Vigilante by Luke Smitherd in return for an honest review of his book. This is my honest review of his book. Now, as you probably already know, Luke Smitherd is one of my favourite authors. He is a self-published British author, and I think that adds to his appeal because you feel more connection with him. You feel like you want his books to do really well. I think I've read 2 of his books so far, maybe 3. No, I've read 3 of his books so far, and I've really enjoyed them all. Some of them have been my favourite books that I've read this year, and so I was really excited to pick this one up. To summarise the story without giving anything away, it's about a teenage boy who basically decides that he wants to be a kind of superhero. He wants to help fix the injustices of the world. And it's the journey of how he goes about that. About sort of making the costume and transforming himself into this vigilante. There are elements that sound really similar to the film Superbad? Is that it? But I did find out afterwards that it was actually written before that film came out, so it's not copied, it's not plagiarised, it's just a very similar story. In some ways. I feel like I should start by saying that I sadly didn't enjoy this as much as his other books. Now, I've since discovered that he actually wrote this is the first book that he wrote, but it's only recently been published. So I feel that actually maybe that's part of why that I like the writer that he has become and perhaps wasn't as enamoured with the writer that he used to be. But it wasn't a bad book. You'll still enjoy it. For me, the main positives were, now this is a strange one, but I liked that it felt like you were reading from the perspective of a crazy person. I have a real interest in mental health, and I think I have read other books where you learn about that kind of psychotic personality, and it really appealed to me. So reading from somebody that's got just a little bit of a screw loose or something not quite right was really interesting for me. The other huge positive for me, there was no doubt whatsoever that I wanted to know how this story was going to end. There's something about it, the way it sets the scene and just lets it roll, that you know this is going to end in a weird place and you want to see what that weird place is. I think this is Luke Smitherd's real positive with how he writes, is that he makes you want to see a story through to the end, more than any writer I've ever known. And that really did keep me going. So although I wasn't 100% into the story, I did really want to see how it was going to end. It also had quite funny moments. Never 100% sure whether they were supposed to be funny, but they were, and it was great. Another Luke Smitherd sort of typical thing is that you felt that you knew where the story was going. You sort of, in your head, you go, oh yeah, I see where this is going, and then suddenly, bang, it just flips you and knocks you and it goes a completely different route, and I like that. Really knocks you for 6. You never know what to expect with his books, and that is great. For me, the main negatives were that it felt at times, not all the time, but sometimes a bit long and drawn out. There were a lot of descriptions of things that I just wanted the story to move along so I could find out what was going to happen. And the other negative is weird because it's not really a negative, but it felt to me like a Shakespearean tragedy. Now that does not mean in terms of the language, but just in that you knew from very early on something bad is going to happen. This is not going to end in a good place. And that feeling of unease as you get closer and closer to the end was really strange and really unsettling. So sort of negative, but sort of actually a positive, because I imagine that's quite hard to achieve as a writer. But overall, I think I gave this 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I think that I was erring towards 3 in the early parts of the book, but then when you sort of had that mind blow halfway through and where it ended was much more positive for me, because that was the intrigue. What is going to happen with this story? So his book has just been released. It was released on the 14th of September, I believe, on Amazon. I believe you can also get the audiobook on Audible. So do go check him out. He is a great writer and he deserves a lot more praise than he's getting and a lot more publicity. So check it out and let me know what you think. I'll see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.